So Steve, we're moving into October right now. We're right at the tail end of September. It's been kind of a tougher, September seems to be kind of a transition month. What do you expect? Let's just start with largemouth bass as we go into October. What, in your experience, what's the deal? What should folks be looking for?
Once the backs of the coves and the creeks, the major creeks, turn over, which I think is pretty much done now. You can see even here in Sterrett Creek, the water's kind of cleared back up from that brownish green, scummy looking stuff.
Yep.
And the main lake begins to turn over. You're going to see these fish transition to the back ends of stuff. When they do that, it's just stupid fun. Square bill. I like a big spinnerbait, a half-ounce spinnerbait, chartreuse and white with a wider chartreuse trailer, a number 6 single gold blade, a thumper.
Okay.
You're not going to catch a lot of small fish on it, but when you get bit,
Give me a good one, huh?
you get bit. And on the really difficult days, if you get a very drastic drop in temperature with a high blue sky, black and blue jig again. I mean, that's standard on this lake when things are tough. But that spinnerbait and square bill, in the dingier water with the square bill, I like the chartreuse blackback orange belly. In the cleaner water, Tennessee shad. You know, silver blackback orange belly. And square bill spinnerbait, hard to beat in the fall. Even a rattle trap. Rattle trap could be very effective. And of course, you know, you can get your top water bite too. I like the popper and the whopper plopper. But you know, you'll pull in a pocket this time of the year and you're looking for shad. Right. I mean, if the food's there, the fish are going to be there. Now, if you pull in a pocket and your shad are in these long schools doing this on top of the water,
get on out of there.
Adios. Okay. You pull in a pocket and you got several areas where the shad are spinning in a tight circle, something's feeding on them. More than likely largemouth. Right. And that's the pocket you want to concentrate on. And that square bill underneath those shad is deadly. And spinnerbait the same way. Just gives them something different, other than all those little 1.5 to 3 inch shad. Right. And it can be a lot of fun. A lot of fun that time of year.
Do you expect that square bill and spinnerbait bite to last all through October, November? Does it die down and move on to something else?
Until you get below 50 degrees.
Okay.
Once you get below 50 degrees, then you get into your wintertime patterns. And winter and early spring until, you know, from the time you get down in the high 30s in the water temperature until you come back to 45, just a jerkbait. It's hard to beat. These fish very, very seldom go really deep on this lake. You will find some on a grub or a gitsit, baits like that in the winter, but you get a bright, sunshiny day, temperatures in the 40s, not a lot of wind, you can have a blast with a jerkbait in the wintertime on this. And these fish in the wintertime are a different species. Okay? You go from a fish this long weighing 1.5 pounds to a fish this long weighing 2.5. And they're that big around. They look like they're eating golf balls. And it's a lot of fun. I gave you an example. A buddy of mine and I went out one day. 44 fish in 4 hours on a jerkbait. 24 of those were keepers. And nothing giant, but the majority of them were 3 to 4 pounds of the better fish we had. And of the 24 keepers, I would say that 80% of them were in the 3 to 4 pound class. But you're looking at fish that are that long. 16, 18 inches.
And they're just gorgeous.
And they're just gorgeous in the wintertime.
Now, you had mentioned that this time of year, just kind of going back to the fall, there's certain areas on the top water that is pretty key to focus in on. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, as you said, transition. Early in that transition with the top water, those fish they're wanting to go, but they're laying there waiting for that water temperature for the shad to move. And I've been finding them on shallow water next to deep water. Points that are flats on one side and river channel on the other. Humps with like a shallow hump, say 2 to 3 feet of water, dropping in 35 with a river channel or a creek channel cut. And that top water is just, it's been a popper and
that bee really
a whopper
likes
flopper. That bee's, get away from me. bar and a whopper plopper.
Yeah.
And now once that transition happens, they'll start sliding back on those banks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they'll finally wind up, and they will usually follow the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very seldom will they get on a shallow flat, get way back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when they go into these places, they're going to follow that creek channel. It's kind of a highway.
Mm-hmm.
So that square bill in the middle of this transition fished through the standing timber and everything along the edges
Mm-hmm.
until they get all the way back where the square bill, the spinnerbait, rattle trap, things like that work.
Mm-hmm.
Those edges are important.
Yeah.
But you're talking about all of this happening in a 2-week period.
Right.
From now till say the end of the first week of October, and they're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the weather we got coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, things are looking good. I mean, I saw in the forecast where, I mean, as much next 7 to 10 days.
Really deep.
Yeah.
You got to edit this.
He must think you're awful sweet.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down nights that are 40, 50 degrees here the next 7 to 10 days.
Right.
So water temperature is probably going to be dropping pretty quickly.
Yeah. We get to that 65, 60 degree mark,
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of things are going to change.
Yeah.
And that's the time to go shallow.
Mm-hmm.
The white bass, the hybrids, the crappie,
Mm-hmm.
the largemouth.
Are you much of a buzzbait guy at all on the largemouth?
I am, but I miss a lot of fish on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like the spinnerbait.
Yeah.
Okay, I can fish that big thumper. I can wake it
Mm-hmm.
on an active day when the fish are really biting.
Mm-hmm.
And I can slow roll it on an inactive day, tight to the cover,
Mm-hmm.
when it's not as good a bite, and I don't miss near as many fish.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when you say wake it, you're talking pulling it right below the surface,
Right.
where it's touching the
Yeah,
surface.
using it just like a wake bait.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And that produces some pretty bone jarring.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome.